How about that cigar?
How about that cigar?
You do a crazy voice like for the last 3 weeks.
I know. I might just.
No, I love it. It mixes it up a little bit.
I might do that. It's kind of like The Simpsons.
Pick a different voice a different intro voice.
Yeah.
Every week.
Yeah.
Guys, we are so glad that you're with us tonight. It is episode number 60 of How About That Cigar. It's a big milestone for us. We're so excited that you're here. As always, if you're watching right now, share us out to your favorite Facebook cigar groups. We really appreciate it if you take just a second to do that. We want as many people watching as possible so that we can, all hang out together tonight, smoke cigars, drink drinks, and have some great conversation. As always, guys, we are coming to you live from the Drew Estate Cigar Studios, and they want to tell you about the yearly seasonal release of the Drew Estate Flying Pig Vitolas, including the Liga Privada number 9, the Liga Privada T52, Undercrown Maduro, Shade, and Sun-Grown, and Kentucky Fire Cured. The Kentucky Fire Cured Flying Pig has tobacco grown and fire cured in Hopkinsville, Kentucky. The Undercrown Maduro Flying Pig features a Mexican San Andreas Maduro wrapper. I can't talk tonight.
Are you all right?
The Undercrown Shade Flying Pig with an Ecuadorian Connecticut Shade wrapper. Undercrown Sun-Grown Flying Pig with a Sun-Grown Sumatra wrapper. And, of course, the Liga Privada number 9 has Connecticut Broadleaf, and the Liga Privada T52 has a Connecticut River Stalk Cut and Sun-Cured Habano wrapper. For more information, please visit drewestate.com. So I'm going to try to get all this untangled because apparently I can't make words tonight.
Public school was good.
Public school was good to me.
Yeah.
That was a long time ago, though. So gradually, guys, if you're watching and listening along, with us here in Minnesota, things are starting to open up again, little by little, depending on where you live. We want, you guys to obviously stay safe and all that. But, as things start to open up again, just for myself, over the weekend on Saturday, I did a little North Metro tour in the Minneapolis area, and I went to 3 shops, and I just picked out a handful of cigars from those shops. As I've been wanting to support these shops during all this, and it's nice to be able to, although the lounges are still closed, you can't buy a cigar and sit down and smoke it in the shop at the lounge, but you can actually walk into the humidor yourself and pick out the cigars that you want, and it's nice to say hello to the people in the shops again. And, there's something about being in the humidor, that walk-in humidor at your favorite shop. You walk through there, you pick out the sticks that that you enjoy. Maybe you see 1 or 2 that you haven't tried before. So get out there, as always, like we've been talking about for the last couple months. Get out there and support your local businesses, whether it's cigar shops or, whatever it is. If they're starting to open up, give them the business that they really need right now.
100%. Yeah, we gotta support them, and I think that helps whether you're in a state that is completely opened up or you're in a state that's still on lockdown or somewhere in between. Find a way to support your local lounge. It's really important.
Yeah. So sports wise, we talk a little bit about sports at the beginning of every show. Obviously, sports is pretty much a no-go right now.
Twins are still undefeated.
I took a little bit of a risk. I think it's worth it, but we'll see. So I actually bought some NFL tickets for the November 22nd game. The Green Bay Packers are playing the Indianapolis Colts at Lucas Oil Stadium in Indianapolis, and I bought some tickets for my brothers and I to go.
Ooh.
We'll see. It's a little bit of a risk, but I'll say this: the tickets were cheap. So maybe the game will happen, maybe it won't. But it would be a great. My brothers and I have wanted for years to go together to an NFL game, and we're finally going to try it in the midst of all this wacko-ness that's going on in the world.
I wonder if these guys are getting unemployment because they're not getting the ticket sales, and they get like a deposit of $20,000 plus the 600, like that extra 600.
The players?
Yeah.
Maybe they get that little extra 6,
that
little bump.
Yeah, really helps out.
It does help out. They need it. So I don't know. It's a crazy time we live in, but like we said, stay involved in the cigar community. Whether it's having herfs online together with your cameras and your computers, or going to your cigar shops as they start to open up again. Stay involved in the cigar community because we just have to keep this, this culture alive because it's important to all of us. So, but guys, as always, we have some fantastic special guests on the show tonight. And as always, those guests are brought to you by Corona Cigar Company and coronacigar.com. They are the internet's largest and easiest to use virtual cigar store. Corona Cigar Company offers you the finest handmade cigars, humidors, and cigar accessories at the absolute lowest possible price. And you'll also find unique and limited cigars containing Florida sun-grown tobacco. As a proud American, President and founder of Corona Cigar Company, Mr. Jeff Borshowitz, believed it was possible to bring cigar tobacco farming back to Florida. At Corona Cigar Company and coronacigar.com, you'll find the best selection anywhere in the world of cigars containing this special Florida sun-grown tobacco. If you live in Florida or are just visiting, be sure to visit any of the great Corona Cigar locations in downtown Orlando, Sand Lake, Lake Mary, and also the Davidoff of Geneva Lounge in Tampa. For more information on all of that, please visit coronacigar.com and floridasungrown.com. And without further ado, I just don't want to wait anymore. I can't wait anymore. I want to bring in our special guest from Casa Cuevas Cigars. Please welcome to the show, Luis and Denise Cuevas. Welcome to How About That Cigar Live.
Woo! Good to be with you guys.
How are you guys?
We are good. So we had a little bit of a, technical issue. It's all squared away. It's all good. You guys are with us on the show. We're so excited that you're here. Thank you so much for spending time with us this evening.
Thanks for having us.
Thanks for having us. Are you kidding? Thank you so much.
That looks like a brand new smoking lounge that you're in.
This is born of circumstance, right? So we started on one side, on the outside. Wi-Fi was terrible. Went to the other side. Wi-Fi was terrible. And then we came inside where I can't normally smoke, but she's making an exception today, and this is a blessing. I'm smoking inside my house. Wow, this is so cool.
Well, we thank you for it.
Yeah, we thank you for the sacrifice, and we just want to make sure that Denise remembers this is not our fault.
Mm-hmm.
We'll blame this on technology.
Yeah.
Yes.
Truly.
Okay.
Truly.
Okay.
But we'll also call it a little blessing in disguise that you get to sit in the comfort of the air conditioning while enjoying a fine cigar.
Absolutely.
So,
Absolutely. I know it's hotter than heck out here.
If she kills him for this, does his death go down as COVID?
It might.
I think it does.
That's a good question.
Technically, yeah.
Yeah.
So guys, we're like we said, we're excited. We've been talking about getting you on the show for a while, and this is one of the things that Garrett and I have talked about a lot on the show with some other people, is that the family aspect of this industry, I think, is so important and it's important, I think, for a lot of reasons. And it's one of the things that I think there might be a lot of premium cigar consumers who either don't know at all or sometimes maybe lose sight of the family aspect of this industry. Mm-hmm. And the Cuevas name in premium tobacco, there is a lot of history behind that name in premium tobacco, even though the brand name of Casa Cuevas may not have as much history behind it. The family name definitely does. And it's something that when I started watching other interviews and learning more about you and your family and the history behind it, I was just fascinated. And so give us a little bit of a history course on, the Cuevas name when it comes to premium tobacco, and how that led into where things are today.
Well, and I've gone over this, and those of you who have heard the story, I apologize. I'll try to do the Reader's Digest version of this War and Peace story. But great-grandfather leaves Spain. I had this conversation with my dad yesterday. He was 15 years old, goes to Cuba, Pinar del Rio. He was a farmer by trade in Spain, winds up Pinar del Rio, and I'm familiar with the island. It's the westernmost portion of the island, tippy-tip westernmost portion, tobacco country. Becomes a tobacco farmer, does well. Grandfather takes it over, does very well, and then everything gets confiscated in '59 by Castro. We leave along with my brother, my uncles, and my aunts in 1969, 68, 67, up to 70. everybody winds up taking off. And then in the early 80s, my uncle, one of my dad's brothers, there's 5 brothers, 5 sisters, decide that he wants to go to the Dominican Republic and start a manufacturing aspect of the, remember, again, they were tobacco farmers. So they started doing both in tandem, growing tobacco and the factory. My dad was running a company here at that time, and I would spend my summers there, but he was essentially investing in it. And in 97, when the boom was really going on, my dad went 100% in with my uncle. And they thrived and they did very well. And by 2006, 2007, he and my uncle go separate ways. And in 2009, I'm an only child. I visited my father. My dad was about to come back to the States. And I said, listen, I'd like to be a part of this because it's kind of a shame that 4 generations into it, things are going well. And I know you and uncle went your separate ways, but I think we could do this. So we did. And I went in 100% in 2009. But I remember I flew back. It was for one evening. I went to go see my dad. I had to come back. I had to work the next day. And I told her we're going to take all of our savings and we're going to pour them into this because my dad does nothing if you don't have skin in the game, right? So I had to buy a portion of this. And we're talking papers drawn up, contracts, the whole 9. Again, I'm an only child, right? And I went to law school, so I know by virtue of everything they've signed, it's all mine anyway, but still we had to do this. So we did it. Fine. 2016 rolls around and the FDA says you got to come out with your own brand now or never do it, right? That was essentially the guillotine hanging over everybody. And so we launched. And I waited that long to do anything because I didn't know how to launch a brand. I'm still learning how to launch a brand. It's very, very tough to do. It's competitive. And it takes a lot of resources. It's not easy. So hats off to folks that have done it without a factory. But even with a factory, it's been really hard. But it was something we really wanted to do. We wanted to do for a long time, and we did. So 3 years, April, mid-COVID, we hit our 3rd year anniversary. And the 1st of April, as a matter of fact, was my grandmother's birthday. And here we are ever since. So, moving forward, doing the best we can, but with me, it's 4 generations. My son, who is director of operations, is a full-time student, but he helps us out constantly, travels with me all the time. He does a lot of the stuff in the office, is 5th generation. And Denise, by proxy, I guess, is 1st generation Ponce, and that's her maiden last name. And by proxy, 4th generation, because she's with me, I guess. I don't know. And so here we are. So, yeah, it's a family endeavor through and through. From my son being part of it, my dad being part of it, my grandfather and my great-grandfather sort of creating and setting and even my uncle, whom I love, notwithstanding the issues between him and my dad, that's on them. I adore my uncle, Sergio. Again, it's a very much a family endeavor, and we're proud to be a part of it. And here we are.
And one thing that we've actually asked a lot recently, just because this is the situation that we all find ourselves in, this this quarantine kind of situation, and this is for each of you. And Denise, I want to start with you. What is the thing that you can say that you miss the most during this quarantine time that you're just not able to do because of it, the quarantine?
Watch my chick flicks. I can't do that. I miss watching my chick flicks.
Well, why can't you do that?
Because you don't let me. But you won't watch it with me. You won't watch it with me. And I have to say, since he won't watch them, and the reason for that is because most of the time he traveled so much that I had a lot of time to do, just figure it out, And now he's home all the time, and actually enjoy being with him. So I don't watch what I normally watch because I actually like being with this guy.
So we watch Peaky Blinders and stuff like that.
I'm curious.
I'll ask him to watch it with me, but he'll say, maybe we'll watch some other time. And then we never.
That's a good series. I didn't expect that answer.
Yeah, well, there you go.
Well, we're going to have a Dr. Phil moment at some point.
Yeah.
We're thinking about doing a show quarantine quarrels. Let's see what happens with
Yeah.
that.
Love it.
So Luis, what do you miss the most about just being sort of because like you said, you're used to traveling a lot and visiting with your customers. So what is that a part of it for you? Is there?
Yeah. I mean, this is such a business so built on handshakes and getting to know people and meeting people that I miss that a lot. And though we're doing this, it's still not the same. And ultimately, I remember I got a couple of orders today from a couple of shops in other states, and it was, hey, I look forward to seeing you again, visiting, having you visit us again. I miss that a lot. From a personal perspective, and this is going to sound really vain, right? But I miss being able to maybe take a weekend trip with my family and go somewhere. I miss going to a brunch on a Sunday after church with my family. I miss. I have the family here. Don't get me wrong. Everybody's here. The kids are college kids, and they're here. My parents are about a block and a half away down the street. My dad's here, and he's not at the factory. He's here right now. But it's not quite the same, so that freedom. But from a business perspective, hell yeah, I miss getting on the plane and getting to know people and shaking hands and meeting you guys. Maybe being in-house in studio with you guys in Minnesota. That would have been cool as hell. I've never been there.
Yeah.
So I think that would be really neat. And it will happen, right? This too shall pass. Yeah. But yeah, that's the thing I miss the most. This has really moved on that. It's moved on you getting to know me getting to know you as a patron I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Or a shop owner, and you're saying, okay, you know what? I like the guy. I like the family. I'm going to give the cigars a shot. They got to stand on their own. Don't get me wrong. They got to be good, but they are good. And then what the icing on the cake is getting to know the individuals. And hell, I mean, I've made friends in shops. Literally, I've made friends in shops, and they know who they are out there. And we share emails together. We'll text each other. And I've met them at events. These are not people that I hung out with all my life or that, I got introduced by somebody else. I just met them at a shop. We have stuff in common. And again, I want to be clear. They're not asking me for free stuff. That's not the point. The point is they become friends. How's your family? Yeah, happy birthday, happy Mother's Day, that kind of nonsense. And it's really cool. So this is a very unique industry. I can't think of any. Even cigar shops are very unique in that way. I bring this up a lot, where you go to a shop and you're sitting and everybody's talking to each other. It's usually a handshake as people step into the shop and get to know somebody else, and everybody shakes everybody's hands. Everybody's friendly. And the guy next to you may be a retired bazillionaire, and the other guy may be a dishwasher. But here we are with the one commonality, which is this.
Yep.
And again, I can't think of any other industry that does that. Really, I can't. If somebody can, please let me know.
And speaking of this, let's give everybody a run through of what we're smoking tonight.
Yeah.
I am smoking the Maduro Toro from the Core line.
Correct.
And Matt, what you've got?
And I have it's not focusing because it wants to focus on my pretty face for some reason. And by pretty, I mean the other thing. So the Dominican selection. So this is, I assume this is an Ecuadorian Connecticut wrapper.
That is correct. Yeah.
This is my first time with this cigar. So Garrett gave me a couple of the other Casa Cuevas cigars a couple weeks ago, I think it was. And this one is my first time with this one right now, and it is buttery and smooth, and the retrohale is like butterscotch. I love it. It's very, very, very nice.
Thank you.
Yeah, that's a very special cigar. How about you guys? What are you smoking?
Go ahead, baby.
Well, I'm smoking what you're smoking because I have the
Oh yeah.
Also, I'm actually, I think I have a Toro here. Oh, I don't know anymore because it's gone. But I had a Toro
once upon a time.
Yeah.
And I happen to be smoking the same one. I mean, we're down way beyond the band at this point because we started before we even started the show. So there's other stuff to smoke. So I grabbed a couple of those. I've been kind of judicious about what I bring home because we are because of this whole thing. Receiving product for my warehouse has become a difficult task. what I have a bit more of. And I happen to have a little bit more of these than I do of some of the other stuff. So we're kind of being careful on not leaving. And we're still on back order anyway you look at it, because the circumstances are what they are. I mean, the factory now started up and running, but getting stuff over here, meaning cigars over here to Miami, has been a challenge. It's been a challenge. Yeah. Go ahead.
Oh, I was just gonna say we do have some viewers that are smoking some Casa Cuevas with us as well.
Yes.
Joseph is he's smoking what you guys are smoking.
Yeah, the Natural Reserva.
Oh, hey Joe, what's up? Joe's great. Joe's great. And thank you. I always thank him. Joe's a firefighter. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then, so Denise, I want to go back to you and talk about your origin into cigars. And
See, we're thinking alike, because I was literally going to ask the same thing.
Oh, were you?
Do it.
I love it. I want to know, I mean, so much, and probably more than we have time on the show for.
This is the Dr. Phil moment.
You marry into this cigar family, so that's one part. You have your part in that, and then you've got your global part of your family and their reaction to that. I just want to know a little bit about that origin and how that transpired. And
well, Luis and I have been smoking cigars since like 97. So we've been smoking cigars for a while. My parents are super cool about it. My mom, she's like a vape smoker, so on and so forth. But one of the things that's kind of strange for us is that, or at least for me, is that nobody in my family really smokes cigars as far as where I'm from. I'm from Chile. And so Americans don't really partake in that as much as you would like them to.
Which is interesting.
So as far as living here in Miami, we grew up with the culture, you always had someone, we'd go to Domino Park, you'd see some people smoking and you'd smell it all the time. It's just part of living here in Miami. It's very, very, common, right? My brother, he's an avid cigar smoker. He smokes everything. He has like 4 humidors in the house, so it's interesting because both my brother and I are big smokers. My dad smoked, he did once, and that was terrible. He got really sick on it, and literally took the screen from our door, our backyard door, running, trying to get to the bathroom.
Oh.
True story.
So
he landed on his face. He inhaled the
so
entire
sick.
thing, and he was
Yeah.
Cigarette smoker. So here we go, 97. We're in our house. I'm getting him a cigar. Let's sit outside. It's relaxing. It's a way for us to like just, talk and stuff like that. And my father's just smoking and smoking and smoking. He smoked a whole cigar, but he was green when he left. He fell on the floor.
Sure.
It was just terrible. He went to the bathroom. He threw up. It was all of that. And my mother, she's a regular cigarette smoker, and then now she's changing to like I said, vape and stuff like that. But as far as we're concerned, as far as I'm concerned, we weren't very privy to all of this cigar smoking or any of that. Being married to Luis, we've been married for 25 years. So we started smoking, like I said, in 97. So from that point on, it's always been part of our lives. And my parents are just kind of cool with it, so. And then my brother smokes. And so, it's just part of what we do now. And they're really good with it. And I don't really travel with Luis. I'm mostly home, and but I do miss going to lounges here in Miami and seeing our friends in the lounges. And I mean, we literally go to restaurants and we just find places in restaurants where we can sit outside and have a cigar. That's like our thing. So just part of our culture here in Miami. It's just part of what we do.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that's pretty, again, the South American thing really doesn't buy into a lot of the cigars. So I guess it's strange for me to be doing
which I've always found interesting, right? You take a country, we talked about this, like Chile, And in South America, I guess because my wife's Chilean, but Chile is a very solid country in terms of finances, economics, and they're very prosperous and everything else. And cigars just not a big part of what they are.
Not at all.
You would think it would go with wine and the seafood. It's an entire coastal country. The whole thing is a big coast. But it's not. Argentina's not.
It's just not part
Colombia's
of
not
South
really
American
one.
thing.
It's just not. Venezuela's
Yeah.
Venezuela's a disaster. But aside from that, it's. I don't know why. I don't know why it doesn't really permeate there, but it'll permeate into the Caribbean and Central America. You got Nicaragua and whatnot. But
Well, and it's interesting because we've talked about this a little bit. Even in the United States, even when you get to the intercontinental part of the United States, if you go back even 100 years, especially 150 years, every town pretty much, whether it was Wisconsin or New York or New Jersey or Indiana, anywhere, pretty much every town, if it had any kind of population whatsoever, they had a little cigar factory somewhere that would make. I've seen even in this little diner in the middle of nowhere, Wisconsin, there are photographs on the wall from the local historical society, and there are pictures of this cigar factory that was right down the road, in the middle of nowhere, Wisconsin, rolling cigars back in 1918, 1920.
Wow.
And that was really true all over the place. And just gradually over time, premium cigars, premium hand-rolled cigars, in the States, started to lose some traction and lose some favor. And, and a lot of people started smoking cigarettes or using smokeless tobacco and things like that. But I love that sort of hidden history to it, where there was such a deep premium cigar culture back then, and I see that although it's not as prevalent, there's not a lot of cigars being rolled on U.S. soil these days, but the culture, the premium cigar culture in the United States seems to be strengthening again, even with all the FDA crap that's happening.
I agree. I agree. I mean, it's still. I mean, you guys have watched The Last Dance now with the whole Michael Jordan, the Bulls, the '98 Bulls, and you see these guys at the end of championships, Jordan especially, right? Always with a cigar in his hand. And I always argue, listen, nobody wins the World Series or the Super Bowl or the NBA championship or whatever it may be and lights up a Marlboro, right? You light up. You have a son, you have a daughter, or a birth of a child. You do this. You get a promotion. You do this. You graduate college. You do this. I mean, this is what people do, right? That thing is still equated to, I don't know, a moment of celebration. And there's something to be said for that. Well, one of the things that fascinates me with this, what's going on now, I was talking earlier with a gentleman, and I said, okay, sales have been slower. I'll give you that from my end anyway. But people are still smoking, and it amazes me that this is something that's not addictive. We all know this, right? It's not addictive. It's not a cigarette. It's not alcohol if you're an alcoholic or whatever it may be. It's something that becomes disposable income that you're lighting on fire, essentially, and that's it. And yet people are still out there smoking, and you're saying, okay, because I thought for sure, if you have your $10 bill in your hand and you've got a choice between buying something to eat and smoking a cigar, why would you pick this? And yet people still continue to do this because I think of the relaxation aspect of it.
Yeah.
Because you can still do what we're doing right now, where people are watching and they're smoking with us. And so we're all in it together to some degree. I mean, one of my favorite things in the morning, especially on Sundays, I'm an early riser. I get up at 6 and change, and we have an outside TV. And I mentioned that earlier. I'll go outside by myself with my cup of coffee, and I'll smoke my cigar. And it's awesome to be able to just that time to just relax. It wouldn't be the same with a damn cigarette in my hand. I don't know. I'm not a cigarette smoker, never have been, but I mean, this is something that gives you time to think and contemplate. And
I think it's a cool thing, it's
cool though.
It's kind
Super
of like
cool.
one of those things where I mean, this is what we do. We eat dinner, and then after we go to the back and we have a cigar and we talk about the day, and it's just a ritual thing for us. And I think a lot of people, like he said, they may not choose to purchase a cigar over, feeding their families, obviously. But a lot of times in these moments, I think a lot of people are looking for some sense of, I guess, normality. Normalcy, and so, and this kind of brings them back to like, this is what I would do before. I'm sitting in the back, I'm having a cigar. It de-stresses me. I think about things, you have an hour at least to think about everything because you're sitting out there and just enjoying the moment, and that's what a lot of people look for sometimes. Just to do that. So I mean, you're not going to pick one over the other, but I think a lot of people still go to cigars because they still miss that portion, that part where they can come back and, I don't know, have that kind of normal moment, right?
Yeah.
So
absolutely.
Or before, So.
Well, and like you both said, there's so many different things that we sort of, even people who don't smoke premium cigars, they definitely equate them, because family members of mine who don't smoke premium cigars, never have smoked a premium cigar, they still understand. A lot of the reason they understand is because I harp on it all the time, but they understand the fact that it's different than cigarettes. When like you said, when you win a championship, you don't crack open a Bud Light and smoke a cigarette. You pop the champagne and you smoke a premium hand rolled cigar. There's something about it's not just the product that you're consuming. It's not that premium cigar or that champagne. It's the fact that product that care went into making that product. Champagne takes more care and effort and time to produce than beer. You can make a billion gallons of beer in a day, but champagne takes time, and it's the same with the cigar. From the growing of the seeds to the harvesting and the curing and the fermenting and then the rolling and then the aging and all of it. There's something that's more special to it, and then that also translates over into us sitting down and consuming the product. There's something about that product when we consume it, knowing that it came from somewhere, it came from someone that's why, and it's the C's, whether it's camaraderie or ceremony or celebration or even just chill, just sitting and relaxing, watching the sunset and just taking in the world, enjoying the smoke and the experience, and talking about your day and the ups and downs of life. It's something that is so much more special than a lot of people realize. And that's one of the things that we want people to get, is because if we can just communicate that a little bit more to the world, even people who don't care about premium cigars, if we can communicate it a little bit more, then I think people can take a little, time to say, yeah, I think the government should lay off. Getting into the FDA piece of it, if it's not the people who are in the industry, it's the people who are outside of the industry that can help to advocate the government to maybe lay off a little bit. And, I think that's one of the things that we have going for us right now is the culture is strong. The premium cigar culture is strong, and families like yours are continuing to, just be a great example to the culture as a whole, from everything from the factory piece of it to the brand piece of it to the relationships piece of it. And, we appreciate that you guys are continuing to just tell that good message.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. You know what, man? And to piggyback on what you're saying, I mean, you look at the way cigars are made today and the process that leads up to it. And it really is an institution that stopped in time. I mean, it's essentially the same. It's still one of the few completely handmade products that's out there. A premium cigar is something that goes through so many hands. I know you guys all heard the number before, but it's fascinating to watch the number of people that do this and what you wind up getting at the end for the price at which you're getting it, considering how many people worked on it. It's really still a deal. It's a great deal. And, you know, you can time warp someone from the 19th century and drop them into a 21st century factory, and they'll know exactly what to do. And whatever they were doing before, they'll be able to do it again. And that's kind of cool that it hasn't changed. It's an industry that's still steeped in a lot of
Tradition.
yeah, a lot of tradition, a tremendous amount of tradition. But hell, even the way business is done, it's still a very traditional thing, right? It's a handshake. It's a, hey, how are you? Yes, yes, no. And you get to know the person. It's still one-on-one. This is not an Amazon product, right? This is not an Amazon product. This is still a product that's sold by you getting to know me getting to know you, seeing what your profile is, talk about the family, talk about the cigars, talk about how it's made, and you have that in common. Talk about different cigars we smoke together, maybe, or ones that I've never smoked that I want to find out about. So there's a lot to it, and that's really, really a fascinating thing. And you take that all away. Listen, I mean, the FDA steps in, and we'll see what happens in September, but they're not only crushing the livelihood, perhaps, of a lot of people here in the States, but in a lot of foreign countries. I mean, Esteli, I don't have a factory in Nicaragua, but I do deal with Nicaraguan tobacco, and I've been there a couple of times to purchase tobacco. And Esteli is inherently just completely dependent on the tobacco industry.
100%. Yep.
You're going to wipe out an entire chunk of people. Dominican Republic, not completely, but a great deal of it deals with cigars. A lot of people are employed in this, not only manufacturing, but from the growing, from the cultivating, all of it, right? So box makers, band makers, designers, there's a lot. And I still fail to see the equation between this and a cigarette. Listen, my family is a family of runners. We run marathons, we run half marathons, we've done Ironman. My son's a smoker, does the same thing. We are a family essentially of runners, and I've been running for a long, long time and actually doing pretty well within it. We all have. I smoke cigars. I've been smoking cigars for a damn long time. There's you know why? Because it's not a cigarette, folks. It's not a cigarette. So stop equating those two things. They're not the same. You know?
Yeah. We actually have a really good viewer question. I'm going to pop up on the screen here. So Chad, and we kind of talked about this a little bit, but Chad says, I've been on a Connecticut kick lately, and Chad, I'm right there with you because I have too. What can you say about Connecticut cigars that Casa Cuevas has and the flavor profile on them? Which one should he give a go to?
I'll tell you what, our Connecticut cigars, I never say, and I'll stick to it, that I have the best cigar in the world. I don't do that. I think we have a very good product, and I think all I aim for is to be part of your humidor. I've said this time and again. Every time you've ever heard me, if you've ever met me, I've said the same thing. I think I want to be part of your rotation, not the only thing you smoke. That said, the Casa Cuevas Connecticut, the original one, the one from the core line, it was blended to be a little more nuanced than the average Connecticut. So I didn't want it to be really boring. I didn't want it to be very bland. I wanted to have a little bit of kick and something to it. Always the aim, though, was to mitigate that bitterness that Ecuadorian Connecticut gives you. What we use is Ecuadorian Connecticut, not Connecticut from Pennsylvania. So not the Connecticut, the U.S. We're using Ecuadorian, but that seems to be the prevalent shade now anyway.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right? A lot of it tends to be very bitter, and I wanted to mitigate that, and I thought we did a good job with that. You step into the Reserva, and if Chad is a cigar smoker, you smoke cigars for a while now, I urge you to smoke the one that Matt is smoking right now, the one I smoked a few minutes ago, because I think it's a smoker's Connecticut. It's got a little bit of strength to it. It's got more body to it, more nuance to it than the average one does. I am not, and I won't pretend to be. I talk about what I know, what I don't know. I'll ask questions about, and I'll defer. I'm not good at saying a cigar tastes like this or the other or the other. I can talk about bitterness. I can talk about spice. I can talk about sweetness. I can talk about strength. chocolate notes, stuff that I can really wrap my head around and make it palpable. I can't do that with everything, but I think the way Matt described it a few minutes ago with butterscotch, I never thought of that. And I go, and I remember right before I put it out, I go, I never thought of that, but damn, that's pretty damn spot on. We want to create, or we wanted to create, or we aimed to create a cigar that is more full-bodied than the average Connecticut, but it's still going to be a Connecticut. I can make a full-on the Hero Connecticut. It's a kick in your chest. That defeats the purpose of having a Connecticut, right? A Connecticut is supposed to be a Connecticut.
Amen.
In the chest, find something else.
Yeah.
But by the same token, I don't want to pick up Connecticut and blow smoke. I don't want that. I don't want to just burn smoke. I don't want sickle all the way through combustion with no flavor, with no nuances throughout, right? And I think we've gotten that. So if you haven't smoked a lot before, to answer your question, the Connecticut from our core line is a great cigar. And if you are a smoker, give the Connecticut from the Reserva line a shot. You're going to be surprised. You're saying, okay, I can pick the cigar up at night after dinner and still be satisfied. It doesn't have to be Maduro. So there you go. I don't know if I answered the question. I hope I did.
Absolutely.
No, 100% you did. And I'm going to go on my soapbox now for a little bit. So from time to time, I work in a retail brick and mortar shop, and I try and educate people that, a Maduro doesn't always mean a strong cigar. A Connecticut doesn't always mean a light cigar.
Absolutely.
But then I look around the room and I start to kind of take back those words a little bit because of what the market has done with that misnomer. They've kind of grabbed it and they've marketed the Connecticut's as light, and they've marketed the Maduros as a darker cigar. This Maduro core line is chocolatey, cocoa-y, maybe a medium, and it is so much flavor, and you get the sweetness that you should out of a Maduro, and this isn't a donkey that's going to kick me in the face. It is beautifully balanced. And this is what I think a Maduro should be. Not that you can't have a strong Maduro, but you really get that sweet Maduro flavor out of this. So I love what you guys are doing with the Leafs, that you're not just saying, you know what, a Connecticut should be, mild to medium cigar, or Maduro should be, this face scraping, murder project. But that it is, like I said before, it is beautifully balanced. It is wonderful. It is awesome.
Thank you. We aimed for that when we blended all of them initially. And actually, if you've smoked our Habano, it's the inverse is true, right? So the Habano is actually going to have a little more of a kick to it because the spice the Habano gives you than the Maduro does. And that was done on purpose. I didn't want to follow the same rules that we've always done in the cigar industry, where the Maduro is the one that kicks you in the chest. Yeah. And everything else kind of falls by the wayside. We sort of did the inverse. Not that the Habano kicks you in the chest, but it's a bit of a more strong cigar if you want to take that, right? But ultimately, even La Mandaria, which is the one I'm smoking now, the Sledgehammer, the idea behind it was to have a cigar that creeps up on you. So the strength is there, but it's sublime. So you may be sitting down, you're smoking, you get up and you go, whoa, light-headed. That's what we aim for. And that's not for everybody. Some people want to pick it up and they want to get that harshness, and God bless you. That's fine. I'm not criticizing you. It's just not what we were aiming for. There's a lot of that. We could have done that because we have access to tobacco like everybody else does. But we blend with a lot of different tobaccos. The one you're smoking right now, as a matter of fact, Garrett, has Nicaraguan tobacco, Dominican tobacco, Pennsylvania tobacco, Nicaraguan tobacco, and then the wrapper is San Andres. You got 5 countries, 1 cigar. And that adds to a little bit of nuance to everything that you get there, right? Yeah. The one Matt smoke is a little more streamlined, but still you got 4 countries within that one. So either way, we're trying to always look at our cupboard of spices and then come out with something. And then the question becomes, how much do you put in of this and that? knowing you can't please everybody, but you try to please as many as you can. And then here we are. So I appreciate your kind words. Thank you very much.
Oh, yeah. So I want to know a little bit about, we got a special guest behind you.
Real quick.
Hi, everybody. Sorry for the quick in and out. I was moving the bird just in case the smoke did something to affect it. So
no worries. It's all good.
Man.
It's all good.
Glad to see you. And, maybe sometime, I don't know if you have time right now, but, we would, obviously you're part of the family and a big part of the business. And
say hi, introduce yourself.
Yeah.
Oh, well, okay. I'll give this a brief introduction. I'm Luis Cuevas. I'm the 5th generation with Casa Cuevas Cigars. And in terms of how I kind of started off and became the director of operations, which is my current position, going through, it was New Year's Eve. I was about 17 years old. It was me, my grandfather, and my father. And my grandfather looked over. It was quite literally like how my parents are sitting now with, me over to my dad's left side. My grandfather looked over and he said, "Hey, have you ever smoked a cigar?" And I told him no, because it was the honest truth. To which he then looked at my dad and he says, "Give him the prototype." And the first cigar that I ever smoked was a Casa Cuevas prototype Maduro.
The one Garrett's one.
Oh, look at that.
There it is.
It's a phenomenal stick. I love that cigar. I will be honest, though, with everybody here, that it was my first ever cigar, so I didn't finish it. I finished about halfway through and it made me queasy. I didn't get the memo about not inhaling. So, yes, everybody has had that interaction at least once while smoking. Yeah. So, but I couldn't be happier to be a part of this family business.
Absolutely. Yeah. We that's one of the things we've talked about a lot on this show is the family aspect of it is important. And, we're grateful for you guys and thank you for making an appearance and letting yourself be known on the show. We appreciate that.
Thank you. I'd honestly be in a better, clothing condition had I not. So I'm sorry about that, everybody out there.
No, we are a come as you are kind of show.
Yeah. I appreciate that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
100%. Well, thank you very much, Alec.
Right now, playing with his sister,
So I'm trying to keep all the dogs contained and everything in there. Yeah.
Go do your thing. Go do your thing.
Take it easy, guys.
Thanks, Alec.
So I want to get a little bit of an idea. So the Las Lavas factory, was already functioning, and doing great work, making good cigars for a lot of companies. And then when you decided, okay, we're going to go ahead and we're going to put our own family name on a cigar, we're going to create the Casa Cuevas brand. What did those first few talks look like and sound like when you said, okay, we're going to put a brand together, we're going to put our name on it, and we're going to put some blends together? Because obviously already, having knowledge about the tobacco and the production, that's one thing, but the branding and the communication and all that stuff, that's a whole new ball game. So how did you work through that process in the very beginning?
That's a great question. There was a lot of hand wringing, right? And the first thing I did was look at the 3 principal sizes that were most prominent within the United States. And that was easy enough to find. Robusto, Toro, and in the 6x60, which is my least favorite size. I don't like anything over a 54, 52. I just don't. My favorite is a Toro, actually. But aside from that, but you had to have it because you got to have part of your repertoire. Then I looked at the 3 wrappers. Connecticut. Macanudo was, I don't know if it still is, the #1 selling cigar in the world at the point. So Connecticut sell like crazy. I know cigar smokers don't think that way, but Connecticut sell more than anything else. That's a fact. So Connecticut, Habano, Maduro, that wasn't really tough. Then the blending came in, and there comes a point where you're blending for yourself, and you gotta put the brakes on that and say that can't happen. I got to sit there and blend, understanding that there may be other flavor profiles out there. So that was a little bit tough, and it's kind of like throwing darts blindfolded, right? You're not sure where you're going to be. And then the real big hurdle was, okay, Pops, we have a factory. We have a blend or 3 blends. How do we get it out there? So one of the things I did was I reached out to Humberto Arias from Cigar Package Design. He had worked with Tarana, and we had done cigars for Tarana in the past. And I said, I need you to design a band for me, and a box for me, an artwork for me, based off of, you know, my family and my vision. And the guy's phenomenal at what he does. He's just great. He doesn't do cigars. He's good at what he does, right? He does branding. So they came out with what you have and what you see now. Then the question became, how do I get it out there? And I've been asked this before on another show. It is much more difficult to have a brand and sell the brand than it is to have a factory and manufacture cigars. Much more difficult.
Yeah.
Because the brand became, I went to a shop. Who are you? I am such and such. Great. Why do I need your cigar? And the truth of the matter is, you don't need my cigar, because your humidor is full. And my cigar is not going to turn your sales over to the point where you become a millionaire overnight. I'm not going to make the difference. I'm not going to be the tipping point. So why do you need my cigar? And in selling that has been a challenge. Ultimately, I'm confident that the cigars, once people try them, I think they like them. And again, they become part of their humidor and their rotation. But how does that consumer who works so hard for his money sit there and say, okay, I've got my $10 bill in my hand, and I always smoke this $10 cigar. Why the hell should I try this one I've never heard of? The box may be pretty, the band may be pretty, but why spend $10 on something I don't know, and the $10 are gone?
Yeah.
And I can sit there and buy something that I do know, and my $10 go to something that I know is going to be a home run. That's been a real challenge. So we were thinking and debating that. Miami and South Florida is my backyard. That wasn't very difficult to get it into some stores. And then the traveling began and getting it out there began. And it's been a 3-year process of a huge, alluding again to racing, a marathon. It's not a 5K. Every penny that I make from my brand, I reinvest in the brand. The factory is what provides my livelihood. And my wife is a teacher as well. But from my end, from my business perspective, every penny that I get out of the brand goes back into the brand, and it all goes into the travel and getting to know people and sort of getting into people's hands. And hopefully as we move forward, eventually I can see a light at the end of the tunnel. But right now it's been that struggle that I envisioned when I first launched. But again, I had no choice, right? The FDA gave me no choice. And I'm glad they sort of lit a fire in there, my butt, and made me jump into the fray. Because if not, I'd still be debating, how do we do this? How do we do this?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So there was a lot of that. My dad says, okay, listen, you worry about that aspect of it. The cigars we've got covered. Everything in the DR, we've got the box maker, the band maker, it's all there. And like I said, Umberto created all the artwork. And so we move forward, and you know, as we evolved as a company, then somebody like Creativas Group, who does all our PR, has been a tremendous help in getting us into just people's, wherever you guys are watching right now, backyards or homes or shops. So they've done that as well. We tried advertising. We tried every little thing, but I didn't know how to do it. I'm still not sure I know how to do it. I'm working hard at trying to do it. But there was a lot of that, but there was also a lot of, hey, we can think about this all day long. It's now or never. You know what I mean? It's now or bloody never. And so we did it.
Yeah.
So we did it. But it's been a challenge. It is a challenge. It continues to be a challenge. And so I'm always thankful to folks like you guys to take the time to just even entertain us, and the people chiming in right now and watching this. Thank you so very much for just being interested in the brand and taking interest in us. I'm humbled. We're all humbled by it.
And it's one of the, like you said, it's now or never. Honestly, that's why How About That Cigar exists. It was kind of, now or never. I was, working with Blind Man's Puff, who's a fantastic cigar media group. I love those guys. I had a vision, and Garrett and I talked about it, and I was like, look, it's kind of now or never. I'm not getting any younger. It's so let's Let's do it. And it's you know, for you to, you know, to take the leap, especially, I mean, we're talking 2016, you know, even back in 2016, you know, everything from a market perspective, when it came to launching a new brand of premium hand-rolled cigars, you know, it's a big leap of faith, and it's a lot of freaking work, man. And you know, I know that, you know, above and beyond all the factory operations and everything else, you know, launching a new brand, you know, it's you know, hats off to you, honestly, for just saying, you know, we're going to do this, and, you know, we're going to put our everything into it. And I know it's not easy. And, you know, we want to see the brand, you know, succeed, you know, just because it's, you know, for us, we're not brand centric here at How About That Cigar, but we want to see this culture succeed. And you know, people who are good members of that culture, yourselves included, we want to see you guys succeed. And it's because it's important. This culture is important. And whether people know it or not, even people who don't care two craps about premium hand-rolled cigars, it's an important piece of you know, the world. And not to get all philosophical, but, you know, and so seeing you guys succeed as a part of that, you know, the small brands are equally as important as the big brands, because the world of premium cigars as a whole gets better when everybody challenges each other.
Yeah.
And I'm sure you've seen that. I'm sure you've seen that on both the factory side and the brand side.
And I see it in everything, right? So now we have this big conundrum with PCA and TPE. And if you're not familiar with it, PCA is the convention where everybody in the cigar industry shows up, and then stores come in and essentially buy and get to know everybody. It's a great, and it's a huge event. And TPE is a smaller version of it, also in Vegas, but one takes place in July, which is not going to happen now. One takes place in January. And so when PCA backed out this year because of COVID, and TPE is stepping in, and I thought, okay, I'm out of PCA, and I was already committed. I was there last year. I've been there for 3 years, but last year I had my own booth and the whole nine. This year I was back again with a booth, and I was committed. And TPE now is really the only one that's around, assuming January comes across clean and we're able to do it.
Yeah.
I thought, I don't necessarily want that. Competition is good, right?
Yeah.
Gordon Gekko said greed is good. Competition is good. It makes everybody step up and be better. And I want PCA to succeed. I want them to be there and make TPE step up and be better. And I want TPE to really succeed and make PCA better. And so the same thing it is with our brands. Ultimately, there's room for everybody. There really is. I mean, if you have a really bad cigar, then okay. But I think everybody stepped up their game. If you're a cigar smoker, now is the time to really thrive, because there's a lot of good product out there, and everybody is trying to do the very best they can.
Yeah.
To sort of put out a really good product. By the same token, if you're only smoking one brand, you're a fool.
Yeah.
If you're only smoking my brand, you're a fool. I mean, there's good stuff out there, and ultimately, what you want to do is to sit there and say, "Today, I'm in the mood for this."
Yeah,
Joe, thank you. But it's true though. I mean, you have so many good cigars out there to just smoke one thing. Hell, I don't drink the same scotch all the time. I don't drink the same wine all the time. I love my IPAs, but I vary those as well.
Yeah.
I don't eat the same damn food all the time. So why smoke the same cigar all the damn time? It makes no sense to me, right?
Exactly.
But to make those great cigars, people need to get pushed. It's what capitalism is all about. It's what being American is all about, right? Competition is good.
Yep.
So,
100%.
Yeah. So with, like you said, there's, and I appreciate that you chimed in with that, because it was actually written on my list of questions, as far as the whole PCA thing goes. And, we have to wait and see. Obviously the trade show's not going to happen, but there are things that are going to be happening. So, from a trade show perspective, we want to make sure that the brands that are out there, have an idea of, because there's you make up a lot of ground. There's a lot of business that gets done at the PCA trade show, the IPCPR trade show. A lot of business gets done. And for some companies, for some brands, it may be the vast majority of their sales for the year come from that trade show. So, how are you guys doing with, as far as it goes with, your strategies and your ideas and your communications with your retail partners, to make sure that you are able to make up the ground that you normally would get from the trade show?
That's a great question. I think what we're going to do is, when the trade show timeline comes around again, I'm really trying to maneuver myself in a position where I can have one-on-ones with shops, and then the savings that I am sort of incurring by not having to go to the trade show, by not having the booth, by not having the booth outright, not only the rental, but the build out of the booth, the travel expense. There's nothing cheap about Vegas. It never has been cheap.
Yeah, absolutely.
Vegas, we go because it's so inexpensive. It's never been inexpensive for me. I've never seen that. But all of those savings, if you can sit there and pass them on then to your fellow retailers or to the retailers themselves, and maybe give them opportunities and deals that are even beyond what I would have given at PCA. I think if we partner up that way, we'll be able to do it. And I think retailers are cognizant of the fact that things are different. So they're expecting perhaps a different July than what we were going to have, but they're still expecting something to happen. The question is positioning yourself in a way that they're still being able to get those deals, and you are still being able to be in the forefront and getting their attention. Haven't figured that out yet. I'm working on it. I know I'm not the only one, because I talk to a lot of fellow manufacturers, and we're all kind of in the same boat. But I think that would be it. That's part of it. The other part of it is stuff like what we're doing right now. I mean, I've done more podcasts in these last 2 months than I had done in the last 2.5 years.
Yeah,
this has been amazing. I've done events where shops have done full-on events, and they're selling cigars as if I were there. So, it's a 5-in-1, 20% off a box plus 5 free cigars, as if I were in the location, but I'm not in the location. And so we're trying to figure things out. Go ahead.
But if I could say something, the other thing that's unique about the situation is that you see all of, I guess now with all these podcasts, you see everyone in a different kind of light, right? Like you see them in the comfort of their homes. Sometimes you get guest appearances from wives and stuff, it's kind of it seems a little more personal.
Yeah.
Because you're in their homes with them. And a lot of people want to see what your life is like sometimes, and so I think that also opens up maybe something where I like this family. Like I'd like to sit down and have a beer with them, have a cigar, something. And when you're at events, I mean, I've been to events with Luis, and yes, he's very personable. He's always talking, but it's very stressful on him. And I think the stress level is a little different. So he's a little more relaxed. It's just so we got to look at the positives of all this too, we kind of bring everyone into our homes, and that's kind of a cool thing. I mean, I think.
Yeah, I agree because we've said this before, that all business is relationship driven, but it's way more so in the premium cigar business.
Oh, yeah.
I think for consumers, and retail partners to, get sort of an inside glimpse of just, people's families like yourself, it just sort of, it strengthens whatever relationship you already have with your consumer and retail partners.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. And then going back to your PCA question, I mean, I think that's what we're going to hopefully do and hopefully accomplish. And you know, I don't know. I mean, I've never been in this position before. I don't think any of us ever have. I think, you know what? Interestingly enough, I think retailers are in a good position, notwithstanding the FDA, because ultimately, if the FDA comes in and wipes out a lot of new brands and a lot of future brands, people will continue to smoke anyway. And if you're a retailer, I tell retailers who are friends of mine, personal friends of mine, and have their shops, whether here or in other states, you're going to be okay. You're going to be fine, right? Because people are going to continue smoking. You may not have a lot of new product, but so be it. I mean, going back to something I said earlier, and I don't know if we were recording at the time. I don't think we were. I'm always cognizant of the fact that it is a fact that whenever a shop brings me in, I need them. They don't need me. Right? That shop is not going to go under because they're not bringing me in. They're giving me an opportunity to be part of their humidor and generate sales. I get that. But without my sales, nothing's going to happen. And you take a brand that's a stalwart in the business, right? You take a Padron, for example, and for the most part, every time you travel, you see them everywhere, highly respected, and rightly so. They've earned it. But if tomorrow Padron says, we're not going to sell another cigar as long as we live, we're done. We're out of the business completely. Nothing happens to the industry. You may miss your Padron if you're a Padron smoker, but then you find something else to smoke. That shop is going to go under because they don't have Padrons anymore. No one's going to go out of business because they don't have Padrons anymore. That doesn't work that way. Yeah. And, you know, I'm always just really thankful when a shop takes a chance and says, come on in, I'll give you a shot. And if I do well within that shop as a brand, it's just icing on the cake, right? Yeah. I mean, it's,
and I like the fact that
these folks with FDA, I mean, the FDA over me looms large, even over companies like a Fuentes, who has a lot of predicate product. But think about this, folks. Those companies, as they come out with new product, then have to jump through the same hoops as I do. I mean, I've got predicate product in the Reserva line. Our Reserva line is predicate product. Fine, I'm safe there. But if I want to expand that line, I want to have different count boxes. I want to have a different wrapper. I want to come out with a different size. I want to come out with a different blend. I've got to go through all the hoops, and that happens to all of us. So we're all in this together, right? Yeah,
absolutely. So, you know, aside from, and I mean, new products are what they are, and we know it's, you know, developing new products takes time, takes effort. So this question isn't really about new products. It's just kind of about, you know, your brand as a whole. You know, what does the future hold for, you know, for the Cuevas family and for the brand, for the Casa Cuevas brand? What does the future hold? What do you hope for?
You know what? I've been asked that question and couched in different terms. Ultimately, I'm not going to lie about this. Why should I? I would love to be, and we're talking maybe 5, 6, 7 years down the line from now, so a full 10 years into this, I would love to be a household name that's uttered in the same breath as some of the other brands I just mentioned right now. I would love that. Not from the financial aspect of it, but simply because of the respect that it brings with it. I think it's really cool, right, to be uttered in those words. So I want to be someone that you say, have you smoked the Cuevas? And they go, no, but I've heard of them, or yeah, and I love them, or whatever it may be, or I don't like them, but at least you've heard of them, right? Something along those lines, number one. Number two, I mean, we're striving to stick it through and still be here when September comes and goes. And, you know, whatever that may take, resources or not, we are prepared. And I mean, growth, very slow growth, all about, again, the marathon perspective. Yeah. We launched 3 wrappers, 3 sizes. That was done on purpose. The Reserva line, 2 wrappers, 3 sizes. That was done on purpose. Nothing really new in between. I sort of take my time in launching things, get things grounded, have things sort of take root let people know them, not overwhelm them with a bunch of different sizes and vitolas and wrappers and brands. That's never been my model. So slow and steady kind of wins the race. That seems to be the thing. So I guess ultimately we want to be here a decade from now doing what we're doing right now, enjoying it as much as we are, and hopefully being part of people's humidors. That's pretty much it, right?
Absolutely.
Right?
I love it.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So let's move into this week's smokabulary word. And as always, guys, the smokabulary word, it is brought to you by AJ Fernandez. Born and raised in Cuba, AJ Fernandez now produces unparalleled premium cigars in Esteli, Nicaragua. The day-to-day operations at Tabacalera AJ Fernandez are managed under the watchful eye of Mr. Fernandez himself in order to ensure superior quality. The AJ Fernandez portfolio of premium cigars provides blend, strength, and flavor profiles to match the preferences of any premium cigar consumer. Whether it's New World, Dias de Gloria, San Latano, Enclave, or Bellas Artes, you are sure to be satisfied with a premium cigar from AJ Fernandez. So this week's smokabulary word, it took me forever to come up with a word for this week for smokabulary, but I decided to just keep it simple this week. This week's smokabulary word is cap. And for those of you who are new to the world of premium hand-rolled cigars, cap is not what I'm wearing on my head right now. The cap is, so Garrett just cut his cigar. So the cap is the round, a lot of times it's just a disc of tobacco that's cut from the remainder of the wrapper leaf that gets, they use the gum to glue it onto the head of the cigar. And there are a lot of different kinds of caps. There's, just a standard cap on a Parejo cigar. There can be a pigtail cap. There can be a fantail cap to make it all pretty and everything. But essentially, it's just. And so, Luis, let everybody know if you would. So a cap doesn't necessarily do anything other than just make a really presentable,
It doesn't, but if you decapitate your cigar when you're cutting them, then it unravels, right? So what you want to do when you cut your cigar, now the V cut obviously is your safety net, and that's exactly what Garrett just did right now. But if you use a guillotine and you cut it, if you take off more than the cap, then sometimes you run the risk of it unraveling a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
But the cap is essentially what Matt said. They take what's called una chupeta, which is a round, cylindrical, okay, that's redundant, metal object, and what's left over out of the wrapper, they cut around it, and using, it's called Burmacol is the paste that they use. It's a vegetable paste. You mix it with water. It's a powdered form. It's odor-free, flavor-free. It's completely tame.
Talk about having an organic cigar.
And you put it on top, and it holds it doesn't hold anything together. What it does is just finishes the cigar, is what it does.
Mm-hmm.
Which is what you can do with the pigtail. Essentially, just roll it up, and you can do the pigtail like La Mandaria and do that little pigtail there. Or you can leave a long pigtail at the end. But a cap is unnecessary in the end. It's not, no pun intended, within the end. But it isn't necessary. But if you're not careful when you're cutting your cigar, then you may overextend the cut, and then it wraps. So when you're cutting it, look at the cap, and if you're using a guillotine, aim for that. Just take off that little snippet.
Yep.
You're good to go.
We can just buy those that already have the little.
Yeah.
They don't cut all the way.
I guess.
Just safety first.
I do recommend those.
Do around it, you move it. So,
we take the nail.
No.
I do for beginners. I do recommend those perfect cutters because it's hard to make a mistake with those cutters. Yeah,
they'll top it off before you go too far into it.
That's right. Mm-hmm. So, guys, that is this week's smokabulary word.
I like it.
And now it is time for my favorite segment of the week, Numero de los Muertos.
All right, guys, this week, Numero de los Muertos is brought to you by Oveja Negra Brands. They bring you a premium smoking experience forged from tobacco, time, and talent. comprised of Black Label Trading Company, Blackwork Studio, Dissident, and Emilio. Oveja Negra brands provide smokers uncompromising blends renowned for their flavor and lasting impression. Oveja Negra, where art and tobacco collide. Join the flock. Visit ovejanegracigars.com to learn more.
Cool.
All right. This
Okay.
week's number is 12.
12? I can't work with a number that low.
I
That's-
know. This number is also since 1896.
So
You're welcome.
hold on. You're saying 96. Only 12 people in the world
Mhm.
have died from this.
Yes.
Oh, brother.
Okay. I'm also going to
This
give.
is a tough one.
I'm going to give more parameters.
All right.
We
All right.
have such a low number here. This has happened globally, but don't think of it as a global thing. That's so weird to say, but when you hear the answer, you'll understand why I've prefaced it that way. So don't really think of it geographically as a global thing.
Okay. As always, our viewers and listeners, go ahead and chime in with your guesses. Luis and Denise, chime in with guesses here. We're going to play 20 questions. With this low number, I think it's going to end up being more like 100 questions.
Right.
Yeah.
Not chickenpox or measles.
Not chickenpox, not measles.
No, I'm just going to go ahead and I'm going to tell people not illnesses.
Is it falling into a volcano?
Okay.
Falling into a volcano.
Illnesses.
Can't be.
It is not falling into a volcano.
12 people?
And this is worldwide. It's not just in the
Yeah,
North America.
right.
6? Oh no! No.
It is not. It is not a medical condition or an affliction or a disease or anything like that.
Something accidental, perhaps. Falling out of an airplane. No, 1896 or an airplane. Strike that. That was stupid. Okay. Let me think.
UFO exposure.
That probing can be tough, but I think those numbers are much higher.
Yeah, sadly, you usually live through it, I guess. So.
Yeah.
1896, 12. It can't be climbing. No, because more people have died than
Killer whale?
We've already done killer whale.
Oh, yeah, we
actually.
already did killer whales on the show.
And that number is 3, by the way.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, so 1896. What's new since 1896?
Not on a cruise.
Okay. Are these deaths that does it take place on some kind of a vehicle?
No.
Okay. Do the deaths usually happen in the home?
No. They
Is
do
it
not take place in a home.
There's an animal involved. That's a good one.
It is not animal related. All right. Another clue. Christine wants another clue. Let's do think of this as an event.
An event. Is it related in any way to the Olympics?
1896.
I got to give it to you. It is Olympics.
Oh.
Well,
No.
is there more to it though? I mean,
Well, yeah. So there have been 12 people who have died while participating or practicing at the Olympic Games.
like that was just like out of nowhere guess. I had no idea that was going to be even close.
Very good.
And actually, two of them were boxers.
He says Lewis is a former boxer.
It wasn't boxing, I don't think. Was it boxing?
No.
Garrett said two of them were boxers.
Two of them were boxers. And it was those were done during the bare knuckle days.
Nice.
So, Lewis, were you a boxer?
Yeah, amateur fighter. Yeah.
Okay.
2 pounds here locally out of Miami. I was terrible, so don't even ask. Let's move on.
Now, I will say that unfortunately there was an episode in the 1972 Olympics. I didn't include those numbers because they weren't Olympians that were actually performing.
Okay, fair enough. I get it.
Yeah.
72 in Munich. Yeah, I get that.
Yeah, we won't go dark here, but yeah, Olympians.
I get it. It's all right.
That's great. Oh, I gotta take that. Where is that?
That's
There it
way up
is.
there. So that was this week's Numero de los Muertos.
That was crazy. All right, so let's step away from the cigar subject briefly. So I'm going to ask each of you this separately.
I can't wait.
I'm going to start with Denise.
Oh, Lord.
If you could choose to hear the thoughts of one living person for 10 minutes, who would it be and why?
Wow.
Wow. That's a good one.
Living person. I think of a lot of dead people that I could.
I know.
Right?
And a dead person just came to my mind.
No. Living person.
That's a good one. Okay, go to him first. Let me think.
No, it's you. and people are tuning out already. Hurry up.
Shut up. Oh, Lord. That's a good one. Living person. Very interesting.
You just get to hear their thoughts for 10 minutes.
I'm going to throw out J-Lo.
Oh, that is a great answer.
Love it.
That is a great answer.
Wow, really?
Yes.
All right.
I'd love to see what
I
she's
love that answer.
All right.
Louis, what's yours?
I had a little more time to think about it, but
Yeah, that's not fair.
I think somebody like Jeff Bezos
Oh,
Would-
wow.
would be fascinating to step into his brain for about 10 minutes when you don't need any more money and you're still thinking about new ways of making more money. I don't know. I think that'd be a pretty interesting
We're a little
guy.
different here, aren't we?
Pretty interesting guy. Yeah. Yeah.
All right. So next question.
How about you guys?
What's that?
How about you guys?
Yeah. Oh.
Nobody's ever put that question back on us before.
No.
Shoot.
See, it's not that easy, is it?
No, it's not easy. Shoot.
I'd probably pick like Denzel Washington.
Okay.
I like that answer. For me,
But you got to give me a why though now.
so yeah, why Denzel?
Well, what people don't know is he is a classically trained actor. He's brilliant, and just I have a real respect for not only what he does in film, but what he does in life and charity. And yeah, I think he's an incredible person.
Cool. Okay.
This is a really, really tough question.
And isn't it amazing that we've been asking this question for so long,
I know, and I've never even thought about it.
and we should have had our answers
Shoot.
teed up for
a
year.
This is an answer that a lot of people have given on the show, but it's really true for me also. Not because I lean one way or the other. It's just I have to know. It's Donald Trump.
Oh,
I want to know what the hell's going on up there.
you know what?
I thought about that and I go,
I did too.
No, not
I did too.
necessarily.
And then I go,
Yeah, and the fact is, I think at the end of those 10 minutes, I would need like years of therapy. But I want to know what's happening up in that brain, and I just
You know what, man? I think that any U.S. president,
yeah, absolutely.
I'd love to be able to,
Mhm.
I mean, the office itself is an amazing position. The most powerful person in the world. What must that be like? But
Mhm.
yeah. Good answer. You'll never inviting us again on your show, right? Because I just put you on.
No, I love it. I think it's cool. So
Yeah.
all right, next question. I'm going to start with Denise again. If you were about to get into a fight, what would be your soundtrack music? If you were a lead character in a movie and you're about to get into a fight, what's your soundtrack music that's going to come on?
Eminem.
Oh yes.
Well, not my answer.
He
What
is
song?
an angry man.
Yeah, but what song?
Between, okay,
I
let's
think you
see.
like Pink. Pink's
Yeah.
always angry too.
Pink is super angry.
She's always
Yeah.
angry.
I imagine if those two got together, they'd have the angriest children.
Yeah, she's always angry too.
He's
Yeah.
always pissed off. That's good.
I love it.
All right. So Louis, if you were about to get into a fight, what's your soundtrack music?
Thunder on that one, right? So "Till I Collapse" by Eminem, I think is the one that
I think we're both thinking.
I always think we're both thinking
Yeah,
the
we're
same
both thinking the
thing.
same thing.
I always think the same thing, but I can't answer the same thing she just did. So I'll go with the Pink one. What's the one that she always fight something or other? I forget the name of that song. We went to her concert. It was amazing, right? Back when we used to get together. You guys remember that? We used to go to dinner with friends
What?
and go to concerts with friends. Back when-
I do remember that. It was a while ago, but I do remember that.
Thing. She looked like she was gonna kick someone in the face, and then she went back.
But yeah, my wife stole my thunder. But that "Till I Collapse" song from Eminem, it's on my running list when I run.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a good one.
I'm not giving up.
Okay. So,
How about you guys?
oh gosh, I was trying to get the next question in before you did that.
You know it's coming, man.
So, this one I actually have thought about, and I'm trying to remember who it was. I think it was Ben Holt from Dissident Cigars, who he named a song that was like not a hard, heavy song at all. It was something really light and soft, and I think just for contrast, I would do like Frank Sinatra singing "Fly Me to the Moon" or something like that. Just to lighten the mood a little bit, because there have been some great movies with just epic fight scenes where the music in the background doesn't sound like fight music at all.
Yeah.
It's funny, and me in a fight would just be hilarious. It wouldn't be by any means like epic. So I think it would have to be funny music in the background for me.
I think Quentin Tarantino does that kind of thing, right?
Yeah.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
For me, it's either going to be like DMX, Rough Rider Anthem, or Jay-Z, Hard Knock Life.
Oh,
Okay. All right.
I love, those are both very good answers. All right, so for both of you, you have to choose one of the following. You could hit a home run as a starting pitcher. You could score a touchdown as a defensive lineman. You could score a hockey goal as the goalie, or you could score a soccer goal coast to coast as the goalie.
Soccer.
You know what? I'm not a hockey player, but I think to score a goal as a goalie
That's cool.
must be cool as hell,
Yeah.
right? I mean, the starting pitcher probably played little league ball and probably hit a couple home runs, and then he became a starting pitcher, right?
Yeah.
The defensive lineman probably maybe once upon a time was a defensive back, or he was a wide receiver. And then the kid grew up and he was a big guy and they put him in, right? I don't know, but how many times a damn goalie get to score from? I guess he could have played, I don't know, forward or something, but
Yeah.
for the most part, right, or wing or something, but still. So yeah, I think hockey would be it for me.
Yeah, that's good. I think that might be the most popular answer is hockey, but we just started including, the soccer question into it just because we forget as, silly Americans, that grew up watching baseball that, soccer is pretty much the most popular sport on planet Earth. And we have to remember that. So,
Mhm.
Yeah, we all watch the World Cup, right? I'm sure you guys do too. And then
Mhm.
yeah, I don't.
I do.
I want to say yes, I do, but I'm sorry, but I've never watched more than 5 minutes of soccer in my whole life.
well, I'll watch anything. I mean, I watch curling during the
He
Olympics.
does.
And
He really does.
I don't understand it, but I'm enthralled by the guy with the broom going sweeping away, and yeah, it's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Well, and there's all these, don't mean to go off on a tangent here, but so being in Minnesota, land of ice, for 10 months out of the year, we have several curling clubs.
Curling's a big deal. Actually, a lot of the Olympic curlers come from Minnesota.
Really?
It's huge up here.
I love
That's
watching
really
it.
cool.
I wasn't being facetious. I do watch it. I just don't understand.
it is a brilliant game
Yeah.
of both strategy and skill. It really is, for as stupid as it looks.
And I love the fact that fat guys like me can still be Olympians.
Totally. Yeah. Yeah.
I love that.
I would be a defensive lineman. Scoring a touchdown.
I would absolutely want to hit a home run as a starting pitcher.
Cool.
Baseball is my jam, and
Cool.
To be able to go up there at bat as a starting pitcher, and knowing that most starting pitchers have a batting average of like 0.0
Yeah.
or something. I would love that.
Good question from Joe.
Yes, of course I do.
Of course.
Except when they play the U.S. Come on now.
Yes, I'm
Yeah.
a little torn. I'm a little like, but you know what? Both sides, anyone that wins, I'm good.
Right. You can take the girl out of Chile, but
Yeah. So guys, we're going to talk right now about this week's notable smokables. And as always, for our viewers, we talk about a couple cigars we've smoked during the last week or so that were interesting to us. They could be brand new cigars to the market, or cigars that are staples that have been on humidor shelves for decades. But we always bring up one or two of them. Guys, you're welcome to participate as well. Obviously, you smoke a lot of Casa Cuevas stuff, but if there was anything interesting you smoked during this last week, we want you guys to chime in as well. My first one this week was actually a recommendation, not a recommendation directly, but learning about, cigars that they enjoy. Some other cigar media guys, Cigar Coop and Bear Duplessis, they had rave reviews of the Christoph Vengeance.
mm-hmm.
And I had never tried it. I found it on the shelf at Tobacco Grove, a shop here in the Twin Cities area. I picked one up, and they were not wrong. It's a very good cigar. It lives up to its name. The Vengeance name. It's a very strong cigar, extremely bold, but I enjoyed it a lot, very much.
And my first one is the Cohiba Royale, new release by Cohiba. And I got to say, after giving it another month, it was my second one that I've tried. The first one was a good cigar, but when I had it after it sat for a while,
Wow.
a fantastic cigar.
Cool.
So for you guys, is there anything interesting that stuck in your mind that you smoked during this last week?
Smoked a Nova.
Yeah, I had the Nova cigar. That was the Corona. I think it's Leo X, and that one was pretty good. I enjoyed it a lot.
Nova's a brand new company,
Yeah.
and anyway.
Leo is a wonderful person, and she, I saw it and I was like, I need to try it. So, and I enjoyed it.
I've
really seen that brand blow up on social media recently, and I've heard a lot of good things.
Great people.
Good people.
Really
good people.
Fantastic. Love her and her hair. Her hair is fabulous.
Yeah, I envy all of that. But, on my end, we were at Jack Tarana's house recently, and I get access to stuff. Maybe that's not out yet. This is not out yet. But Diesel's coming out with a new Whiskey Row, and it's not released yet. But wow. I smoked that last Saturday night.
Yeah,
we were at their house for dinner, and I was able to get my hands on that. Again, it's not released, but yeah.
That was good.
Yeah, it was damn good.
That was good.
Yeah. My other one this week was the Gatekeeper from the sons of Alan Rubin, Alec and Bradley have their own brand now. And first a couple of years ago they came out with Blind Faith, and just last year they came out with the Gatekeeper. Finally got a chance to try it and was not disappointed at all. Very good cigar. So those another family in the business that seeing the sons get into the business with their dad, and they're doing fine work. Definitely.
That's cool.
And I love you guys chiming in and telling us the great cigars that you've had throughout the week. Please continue to do that. That's all a part of this. We're doing this thing together, and this is really for you guys. So I love seeing those cigars that you guys are smoking too. My second one would be I had a Don Arturo.
Oh, is that just a Don Arturo?
Don Arturo.
I mean, it's just one of the best Fuentes in the world.
Oh,
yeah.
Oh, so good.
Yeah, they're consistent and just delicious. So yeah. So we want to give our viewers and listeners a little bit of an idea of some stuff we have coming up here soon. So next week on June 2nd, I cannot believe we're in June already. I mean, we're pretty much in June already. So a week from tonight on June 2nd, we're going to talk to Tim Swanson. So Tim Swanson has a great YouTube channel and social media presence called Cigars Daily. Mm-hmm. And also they're launching, their own new brand called American Viking Cigars. And we're going to have him on the show, and we're going to talk about American Viking cigars and talk about Cigars Daily, and just excited to get to know him. And, his channel is infectious. His personality is infectious. And, he's just, he makes you excited about cigars when he talks about cigars. So we're really excited to have him on the show and get to know him. And we don't actually have any officially scheduled guests after that, but we are working on some dates with some different people. So, stay tuned and, keep logging into the website, keep checking out Instagram and Facebook. We're excited to keep 2020 going. And, there's been a lot of great stuff happening already this year, even with the lockdown. There's still a lot of good stuff happening. So guys, give our viewers and listeners, just a final idea, where is the best place for them to get all the latest information about Casa Cuevas?
And where they can buy them.
Definitely.
Oh, gosh. The website is CasaCuevasCigars.com, and I'm remiss on this aspect of it. It hasn't been updated as much as it should have. So we're missing a lot of shops that we're in now that were there. But all the major catalogs certainly carry us, and we are in a lot of different locations. Instagram, Casa Cuevas Cigars, Facebook, Casa Cuevas Cigars. All the information is always there. My email, by the way, is Luis, Luis, at CasaCuevasCigars.com. You're more than welcome to reach out to me. And if you have any questions about, let's say, a shop that doesn't carry your cigars or an area that doesn't carry your cigars, I'll respond. And I'll try to do the best I can to tell you where we are nearby, or maybe an online source that you can get something at. But please keep us in mind. Please give us a shot. Again, not the only cigar I want you to smoke. I want you to have other things as well, and partake of the phenomenal sticks that are out there, because it's a great time to be a smoker, as I said earlier. Yeah. But, I want to be part of a humidor. I want to be part of something that you think of when you think of a good premium cigar. And, it'd be an honor to be part of a humidor, and for you to take your hard-earned cash and take a little time with me and smoke a cigar, and maybe think about it, and even shoot me an email and say, I thought this about it, that about it, whatever. I'm always open to suggestions, always open to listening. And in the end, I'm a cigar smoker like you guys are. So I welcome the responses and the feedback. Absolutely.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Well, guys, I've had a blast tonight talking to you. I think it's been a great time. I hope you guys had fun on the show.
Absolutely.
Getting to know our viewers and listeners and everything, and we look forward to someday in the future having you back on the show, and even getting together in an event somewhere and sitting down together and smoking and sharing a drink together. That would be a wonderful time. Thank you so much, honestly, from the bottom of our hearts. Yep. And on behalf of all our listeners and viewers, thank you so much for joining us on the show tonight.
Thank you guys. Humbled and just amazed, and what a great time. Yes. What a great time. Thank you.
So for all our guys who are faithful here on How About That Cigar, as always, thanks for watching and listening. Yep. If you're listening on the audio podcast, take a second and make sure to subscribe so you don't miss any episodes. We're on every Tuesday night live here on Facebook and YouTube. And until we see you guys next time, burn cigars,
not bridges.
There you go. I like that.
Take care, guys.
Thanks, guys.
Good night, guys.